Acts chapter 2, verse 6, or chapter 6 rather, 2 Kings chapter 6. God, do something in me. 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 8. You no doubt have read this passage many times. I know I have done for years. It says, now the king of Aram was at war with Israel. After conferring with his officers, he said, I will set up my camp in such and such a place. The man of God sent word to king of Israel. The man of God here is Elisha. Okay? The man of God sent word to the king of Israel. Beware of passing that place because the Arameans are going down there. So the king of Israel checked on the place indicated by the man of God. Time and again, notice it, and I'll come back and mention it again. Time and again, Elisha warned the king so that he was on his guard in such places. This enraged the king of Aram. He summoned his officers and demanded of them, tell me, which of us is on the side of the king of Israel? Well, none of us, my lord the king, said one of his officers. Go find out where he is, the king ordered, so I can send men and capture him. The report came back, he's in Dothan. Then he sent horses and chariots and a strong force there, and they went by night. And went out early the next morning. An army and horses and chariots had surrounded the city. Oh no, Lord, my Lord, what shall we do? The servant asked. Don't be afraid, the prophet answered. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them. And Elisha prayed, open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see. Then the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he looked and saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. There's more to this story, and you can read the rest of it later. But is that the beginning, Bell? Several years ago, I was painting outside the back of the church. And as you came along the back, there was a set of steps that went up to the door. Okay? And as I've been teaching on wisdom on Wednesday nights, what I did that day was not very wise. The only way to really reach what I needed to, you couldn't. The way the porch was, you couldn't get the ladder in the right place to really get where you needed to paint. So, in my feeble mind, I set the extension ladder on the concrete pad out the base of the steps. Had it kind of leaning just so I could get up to paint where I needed to paint. Anybody know what was happening next? The ladder started to go. And it's an amazing thing. You know, you've heard that saying, how your whole life flashes before you. Well, I didn't have that happen, but it's amazing how in a few seconds, God gave me a 3-point sermon. Well, it wasn't really a sermon, but it was 3 points. 3 things came to my mind. The first one was, I'm going to get hurt. Maybe break a bone. And I've never broken a bone before. All of this is coming to my mind. The second thing that came into my mind was, our parsonage was right next to the church. I hope my wife isn't looking out the back window and saying, "What are you stupid idiot?" Seriously, I thought these things. But the third one was, I had enough time to say, Jesus, help me. I don't know if I probably skinned something up, and I was hurt, but I wasn't broke. Nothing was broke. But I was so embarrassed. You know, what I'm saying is, the minute that ladder started to go, I knew I had a need. A sense of need is a gift. I don't know who wrote this. I penned this quote years ago. And I like it. I need to find who wrote this. He said, the Lord is never near when He excavates a sense of emptiness in us. When we have a sense of need, when we get to a point, one of the message interpretations this morning said something to the effect, what you're feeling in your heart, that sense that you have, I know about it, I put it there. Did you hear God say that? Sense of need is a good thing. It's a gift. It's how we respond when we have that need in our lives, in our hearts. From a pastoral perspective, one of my concerns is this very issue. How people respond to the needs that they have. Or do they, it seems as if from my viewpoint, I know that there's a need going on. But it appears like they're oblivious to it. Either the way they're living for God or not living for God. Why, how come it is that they don't recognize that they've got a greater need? That's always a frustration that pastors will have. I know. It's kind of like you have for your own kids. Why don't they get it? Yeah, maybe when they get older, they'll understand it. We've been studying Proverbs on Wednesday night for a few weeks. And we see that this type of behavior is described as the fool. Last Wednesday we talked about the sluggard. Kind of same thing. And if you haven't been here on Wednesday night, you ought to be. But if not, if you can't make it, you need to study Proverbs. It needs to be part of your life. And see the strong language that is used when it describes people that just seem to be oblivious to their need. Our text speaks of a situation that we just read where the servant of the man of God, Elisha, was very much aware that he had a need, that they all had a need. The man realized that it was a need for them. As we read, the king of Aram was at war with Israel. And part of his strategy was to move the camp from place to place. Somehow he felt that this gave him an upper hand in the battle. But as we read, you'll take note that God let Elisha know every time that the enemy made a move, where they were camped at. So that, not to attack them, but so that he could be aware that where they were, which direction they're coming from. There's a sermon right there. How God will let us know where the enemy's coming from, where he's at. We're not blinded in this life that he gives us. Believe me. He makes us aware. But Elisha would tell him time to time. He warned the king, verse 10 said. Baffled by this, king of Aram said, what in the world's going on? And he calls his military leaders together and said, okay, which one of you guys is a mole? That's New Translation. Somebody's squealing. Somebody's ratting on us, telling the king of Israel where we're at. And I love the response the guy said. At least they knew. Well, you see, they've got this man of God over there. Name's Elisha. And he knows everything. He even knows what you're saying in your bedroom. He didn't like that. So he said, well, we'll just capture him. Think of it. We'll capture him. This guy knows everything. God apparently speaking to him, but we'll capture him. So, yeah, that's some of his leaders should have said, well, maybe not. I don't know if we can really pull this off. But no, we'll capture him and we'll take care of him, get him out of commission so he quits messing with us. So that was his plan. And so they went in at night and surrounded Dothan, which was where Elijah was living, where he was staying. As we read, the servant of Elisha woke up the next morning and he saw the Arabian army surrounding them. What an ominous thing. He realized they were in trouble. Big time. And he runs to Elisha. There's so many things as we go through this that I may mention. I'm probably not going to mention all of them. But he runs to Elisha and he says, we got a problem. The army's all around out there. What are we going to do? I love the fact that Elisha didn't even rebuke him. He didn't get on his case. He said, hey, greater is he that's in our kingdom, in our life, than those people out there. Greater is he that's in the world. That sounds like somewhere else, doesn't it? It's a truth that's been true for years. Still true. But then he prayed for his servant. God, open his eyes. Open his eyes that he'll see. That he'll see what's going on. And so God touched him and he opened his eyes and he saw the great militia, basically, that God had. The great army that was greater than the ones that were out there. You can read the rest of the story. The beauty of this passage here is that he wasn't rebuked by Elisha because he knew where to go. In this case, he went to the prophet, Elisha. He knew basically to go to God. That's what we do when we face needs. We should know that. But sometimes, what I'm saying is, there's a gift in being aware of our need. Okay, let me build on that a little bit. Sometimes, as we're aware of the need and it isn't met immediately, it feels like it just grows. You know, when a problem's a problem and it's not taken care of immediately, it just gets worse sometimes. At least we begin to become warriors. That's not what the Bible says to do. But I do believe that we need to be aware of the need. We should not ignore the need. That's the last thing we need to do. We need to continue to be aware of it. Recently, I preached about waiting on God. Wait is not a word we like. Nobody likes it. No one of us, we never like the fact that we need to wait for something. It's not a popular idea at all. Because it intensifies the feeling of the need. We'd rather ignore it. But no, we need to not ignore it. We feel farther away from God, it seems like, when we're aware of it, but nothing seems to be happening. Hopelessness can set in. It may cause us to feel like we're failures. If there's anything that I've realized as we've had our ministers, this special cohort thing, one of the things that comes through a lot of times from the different preachers is that they all feel one thing, is they don't want to fail. One of the things that motivates them is fear of failure. They just keep going and keep going because they don't want to fail God. And when some of them said that, I thought, man, I thought I was the only one because I have failed God. I know that surprises some of you, but it has happened. Probably a few times already this past week. You fail Him, and you just don't want to, and you're always calling God, forgive me, I know I can do this. If you've given it to me, I can do this. I want you to notice something, and I've referred to this a lot, Acts chapter 2. Okay? These disciples and those who were followers after Christ, in particular the disciples, they had given up everything to follow after Him. They had literally given up everything to follow after Him, and now He was gone. He was dead. He promised that He was coming back, and He was going to send a promise. He was going to send a promise. And you've heard me say this statement. One of the things that I always like that the angel said, "Why are you standing here? Hurry up and get to Jerusalem." And what do you do when you get there? Wait. Go there and seek God for the promise. It's coming, but you're going to have to go wait. And they did that. They spent time in prayer. They did other things besides praying, but their main emphasis was praying that God would send that promise. Because after all, while Jesus was here, they learned to trust Him completely. They realized all the miracles that He brought. People that were healed. People were raised from the dead. Demons were cast out. Now He was gone. And Jesus had also told them that greater works than these shall you do. He told them they would do greater works. So they're got all this stuff going in their mind. God, we need this promise, and we need it yesterday. When you went up to heaven, why didn't you just send it right then? Why did it happen just then? We need it. So as they're praying, this just intensifies. And intensifies and grows as they're seeking God for the promise. Sensing the need, they recognized it, I bet, at the point that the promise was given. They were at the highest heights of recognizing how much they needed God, how much they needed Jesus back with them, to walk alongside them, to hear His words of comfort and encouragement and even reproof. They were longing for that touch of God. And then Acts chapter 2 says that suddenly a sound like the blowing of a violent wind came from heaven and filled the whole house where they were sitting. And they saw what seemed to be tongues of fire that separated and came to rest on each of them. All of them were filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other tongues as the Spirit enabled them. The power of God fell. The promise was given. So how do we wait? How do we maintain during this time of being aware of the need? You know, sometimes people carry themselves hyper-spiritual. I don't know if that's the right terminology or not. Where they ignore the need, saying, well, I'm giving it over to God. Well, I'm glad. How did you just do that? And maybe they did. Here, I'm going to tell you how you do it. How you give it over to God. And not ignore it. You've heard it before. Matthew 7, verse 7 through 12 says, ask, and it'll be given to you. Seek, and you'll find. Knock, and the door will be open to you. Now, you know what that translation literally means. It's to ask, keep on asking. You don't ignore the need. You ask, and you keep asking. Persistent. You seek, and you keep on seeking. We become weary of asking God for things. And I don't think He's there to frustrate us. I don't believe that at all. But I do believe that He wants to see just how hungry we are for more of Him. He's aware of the need that we have. He spoke to us this morning. He spoke to us that He wants to do something in our lives. But truthfully, how hungry are we? Do we ask and we keep asking? Do we seek? Do we keep seeking? Do we knock and keep knocking? God, I got to have this. We need this. This community needs it. Our family needs it. We need the outpouring of Pentecost fresh and new. We need a fresh touch from God. I've got this need. I've got this physical need. I've got this financial need. I've got all these different things. God, I'm just going to give it to you and you're not going to hear more from me. That's not what the Word says. Ask. Keep on asking. Seek. Keep seeking. Knock. Keep knocking. And that verse goes down a little bit further. Know this. Verse 8 says, for everyone who asks receives. And the one who seeks finds. And to the one who knocks, the door will be open. Which of you, if your son asks for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will you give him a snake? If you then, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will the Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask Him? So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you, for this sums up the law of the prophets. You keep on asking and seeking God. If it's that big a deal, if it's that big a need, then keep doing it. When you were a kid, or when maybe it's better for you to remember your own kids. We'll be big on ages here, because it might come back. How many times when your kid wanted something for Christmas? I've got a grandson. Every time he sees any commercial, Grandpa, can we get that? Well, I don't know. I have to wait and see. Over, and it can be one commercial after another. After another. You just don't you tell him I said that? Okay. I don't remember you doing that, though. Oh, you did? Okay. Okay. How big a deal is this? Not to just shelve the need, to be aware of the need. How big a deal is it to be aware of what we need? I also been preaching on Sunday nights. I finished that a couple Sunday nights ago about the churches in Revelation. How big a deal is it? Revelation 3, verse 14 through 21, the church at Laodicea. Whether you were in on Sunday nights or not, you know what that message is, don't you? The church at Laodicea said, he says, I know your deeds, that you are neither cold nor hot. I wish you were either one or the other. This is a church that was wealthy. They had a lot of things going for them in their community. In fact, their response to God was, you say, I am rich. I've acquired wealth and do not need a thing. But you don't realize that you're wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked, Jesus said. How important it is for us to be aware of what we need. Believe me, Jesus is very aware of what we need. That hunger, that thing you're needing, He's put something in your heart. It's called conviction. It's called a spiritual. It's called the touch of God that is speaking to you. This is what you need. This is what you need to go through. This is what you need to make you more hungry for. You need to realize that you need me more than anything else or anyone else. I don't know that we corporately feel that we're in need of nothing. I don't think that's the case. But on an individual basis. Folks, you may have grown up in church. I'm one of those. But I've never been more aware of how much I need God now than I've ever been. Not just for the church, because that's a big deal. There's a lot of things I pray about every day for this church, a lot of different things. I find myself telling God what He needs to do, and then I find out, God, you know what it is. But I'm going to keep asking, I'm going to keep seeking, I'm going to keep knocking, and you can do it however you want to, but just do it. Just do it. But in my own life, I recognize every time I bow my head and I'm even looking for a word to preach, God, I need you more than the air I breathe, more than the song I sing, more than the next heartbeat. I need you more. It's not saying that, God, you haven't done a good job or touched my life down through the years. You've done amazing things in and through me. But for some reason, I still have a sense and a hunger for more of you. I need more of you. I realize that I just need a fresh new touch. Recently I was going through the Psalms again, and every time I came to a new song. Well, King God, if I got to write one, I don't know what is that new song? It doesn't tell me. I read that psalm mentioned it a while ago, Psalm 119, where He says, open the eyes of my heart. And his emphasis, 119, is that I can see how beautiful your word is and what it speaks to me and all what your word does, your statutes and all the rest. We can't imagine that Elisha's servant, after seeing they'd been surrounded with the enemy, one of the things that amazes me, and I'll try to close with this, Elisha. He goes, what are we going to do? I mean, he'd seen an axe head float. In that same chapter, an axe head. Guy had borrowed an axe. When he in the process of using the axe head fell off and went down, went into the water, and they worried, panicked. Elisha, what are we going to do? I borrowed this. I got to caused it to float, come to the surface. I was also reading early this morning, back when Elijah was getting ready to be taken away. Elisha realized that he needed more of God, didn't he? And he told Elijah, he told him, he said, I need a double portion of what you got. A double portion. Elijah says, well, you see me go away. You see these things happen. You're going to get it. In other words, stick with me. Stick with me, man. Stick with me. God's telling us this morning, just stick with Him. He's going to give you a double portion. He's going to give you more. Just a little bit's fine. No. He hunger for more. More of God. God, I want triple portion. No, I'm not concerned about any axe heads that I know of. But I do know a lot of lives that need to be changed totally. I want to be instrumental. I want to say the right words. I want to, when I pray for someone to be healed, I want to be healed. They need to be delivered. I want them to be delivered. Not because of me, but because the Word of God has said it. And I want the Word to be demonstrated through my life. I can't do it without you, God. Cannot do it without you, and I'm aware of that every day of my life. God's not telling us He's not going to do it. If we ask something good, He cares more about us than we care for our own kids. This morning, the whole awareness of need is a gift from God. My question this morning is, are you aware that you need something from God? That you need more from Him? Are you aware? Don't feel guilty. Don't feel like you're a failure. Don't feel like you're a second-class citizen. That you're not as good a Christian as the next person. Just understand that that's a gift from God this morning, and He knows what you need. He put that there. And He wants to do something in your heart and your life today and tonight and tomorrow and the next day and the next day. Bow your heads with me in prayer this morning. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Heavenly Father, I'm thankful, Lord, for your word. I'm thankful. I'm thankful that you poured out your Spirit on the day of Pentecost. And that the church was given birth that day. And it still exists today. I'm thankful, dear God, that the promises in your word are still valid for today. I'm thankful for the needs that I have. God, there have been times that I felt like that to praise you for the difficult times was something it didn't make sense. But while you don't put things on us, you certainly allow us to go through some really deep waters at times. Some dark moments. I'm thankful for those times because it's during those times that I feel you closer than ever before. That I realize that you want to do something even greater than I could imagine. God, those times when I needed a miracle, things had gotten down and where no man could help. Even the most loving family members couldn't reach out and make the difference. When the church pocketbook got so low, even though the well-meaning people of the church were feeling the burden. God, those times when you came through in a miraculous way and supplied. God, you've done that time and time and time again. And all that to say this, God, the thing that I long for more than ever in my life is a mighty outpouring of your Spirit begin in me. I want the new song. I've got to have it, oh Lord. I've got to have your strength and your might. I've got to have your power. I've got to have your wisdom. I've got to have your mind, oh God. You've put us in this place to carry on your work. And it's your work. We can't do it without you. Jesus, I pray for each one this morning. God, there are some here this morning that are facing some real needs. They're aware of it. We've heard prayer requests already this morning. That's just probably part of it. They lift up their hands and voice the request because they know you're able. And because they know their need. They know what they have need of. God, I'm reminded even at this point that your word says that before we even mentioned the need, you were aware of it and already started bringing an answer. God, I pray this morning that we be sensitive to your voice. You've spoken very clearly this morning. In Jesus' name, open our eyes, God, so we can see the militia, the army that surrounds us, that's there to protect us. In Jesus' name. Stand with me. Hallelujah. Stand with me as we sing that chorus. What a day that will be. I know it's new, but I want to open the altars, and I would encourage you to come spend some time. If you need prayer, I want to pray with you. Fact is, you probably do need prayer. A sermon like that, there's got to be some needs that God wants to do something. Can we sing it together? And let's just open the altars in this next remaining time that we can to our hearts to God. What a day that will be when my Jesus eyes shall see. When I look on his face, oh, who saved me by his grace. When he takes me by the hand and leads me through the promised land, on a day, glorious day, that will be. You may be sitting by someone this morning that needs something from God. Why don't you ask him to come? Reach out your hand and bring them up here with you. We'll pray together. Hallelujah. God wants to minister to the hearts of people today. Hallelujah. Save me by his grace. When he takes me by the hand and leads me through the promised land. On a day, hallelujah, Lord, I pray in this place with your presence, oh God, every corner of this building, I pray. Jesus, hallelujah. Hallelujah, Lord. Hallelujah, hallelujah. God, there's needs that we prayed for and prayed for and prayed for. God, we're going to continue asking, seeking and knocking, oh God, we're going to keep it. Lord, until you do that